Now, in a normal urban, suburban area, which obviously we have a lot of here out on the front range, what kind of distance do you look at for sold comps, and what kind of time frame do you look at that you would use as a comp?
That's pretty easy. Usually in the suburbs or urban areas, we don't have to go very far. The population is so dense. You can go out a quarter mile, sometimes you can go half a mile. And the time frame, usually 90 days. We're in a market where it's easy to get comps. Sometimes those numbers I just said of quarter mile to half mile and maybe 90 days depends on the area. Sometimes you could get on the edge of town where there hasn't been as many solds. Well, we just start expanding that. Like I said, we're trying to find the most similar homes comparable to our subject, and we do want to be in that same area. You're not going to go to 10 miles away in a subdivision just because it's very similar, because it's not the same. Somebody who works downtown Denver isn't going to go another 10 miles to see this house. So our general terms when it comes to looking is we're about half a mile and usually 90 to 180 days on the sold properties. That's a generalization on what we're trying to parameter down. And then from there, we just keep tightening it down. So then we'll find similar style homes, similar square footage homes, similar bedroom counts, similar lot sizes. And then that's when we start just keep going down until we get to our 3 or 6 comparables that are most similar.
Okay, terrific. And I just want to remind our realtors who are on with us that we are going to be taking questions the last half hour. We're going to do nothing but questions from you guys, and you can put it in the Q&A. I know we have one in the chat. We're going to take your question as well. But as you have questions, just go ahead and enter them in the Q&A. And we've got Kelly ready for those. Woo, she's excited. You can tell from that. Hey, so I've heard some urban myths. We're going to go through urban myths right now because everybody loves those. So I've heard when you're doing appraisals that you do not cross a freeway or railroad tracks or that sort of thing. That you kind of stop at the freeway. Is that true, or is that really just an urban myth?
That's gray area. It's because you can have an older neighborhood. Just to give you an idea, downtown Denver, there's trains and light rails that go throughout. Not everywhere, but they go throughout. Light rails kind of cut some neighborhoods right in half. Now, I could have a property that backs up to that house, and so it's got obsolescence. Well, a house on the other side of the tracks that also backs to it has the same exact obsolescence. So it's not true in that scenario. And in fact, and if it cut the neighborhood in half, a person who's looking on the left side could also be looking on the right side of the tracks. Generally, yes, you do stop. On an interstate, usually the interstate, that's the bounding line for a lot of neighborhoods. So generally that is true, but as a guideline, no. We can go on either side. If it's the same distance to downtown Denver, same lot of things, just because, and it could be in a different neighborhood. One could be in the neighborhood right here, but right on the other side of the interstate's another neighborhood. It doesn't mean I can't use it. Now, guidelines state I should try and get one closer, but if we have to expand that circle because there's limited comparables, it's absolutely possible. So okay. No, it's not a myth. It is out there, but it's not the guideline. Perfect.
Okay, so I got some more urban myths for you.
Yes.
Okay. So, and these are just things I have been told. You don't know. Mm-hmm. People tell me all kinds of things. You always wonder if they're telling you the truth or not. So I have been told that when you're doing a comp, that you can use like a 3-4 to a 4-2 or something like that, or 3-2 to a 4-2, because that's like a family home. But you can't really use a 2-1 because that's more like a couple or a starter families type of thing. And those really are not equal. Is that true?
That's mostly true. As I answer your questions, I'd say a lot of things aren't set in stone. When we do things, a lot of things are not black and white. I do agree with you. They're not the same. And I would try everything I could to not use those, because you're exactly right. Younger family or married couple might be looking at the 2-1, but a family's going to want the 4-3 or 3-2, the bigger home. And so then we have to decide, is the same type of market looking for the bigger home, the 4-bedroom, is that same person looking at a 2-bedroom? No, they're not. And so I personally try not to use those. That doesn't mean if we're in a limited situation, and one thing I try and tell everybody, that everything is appraisable, regardless of the style of home, the geodesic domes, everything's appraisable. And so certain instances, we have to expand our parameters, and maybe that would be used against a bigger, the smaller bedroom versus a bigger bedroom. But for the most part, no, that's mostly true. The same person buying this home is not going to be the same person buying this one. So that's true.
Okay, another urban myth that you can use a townhome to a patio home, but not if they're attached or detached. What are the rules on that?
I have seen that, and for the most part, townhomes can be compared to patio homes if they're also attached, just because that's the similar obsolescence that they too can be compared against. But you can't compare a townhome, an attached townhome, to a patio home that it has its own lot with its own four walls. It's not the same. And so, once again, I'm saying there's reasons to do things outside the guidelines, but for the traditional guidelines, no, it's not the same. It needs to be an attached to an attached.
Okay. All right. Well, now I have another one that's not, I don't know if it's an urban myth or just maybe an urban annoyance. I'm going to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I have had some realtors who tell me with all sincerity and all honesty, tell me that they have another lender out there who can call, that other lender tells them that they can call their appraiser, and their appraiser can give them an advance number on that appraisal. Now, can you tell me if that's real or is that just some joke?
Now, let me split the hair. Now, when you say on the appraisal, is it one that they're working on, or this loan officer has called the appraiser to get an idea of what they believe the value would be?
So they're saying before they're working on, they have a contract and they're trying to decide which loan company they're going to use. And this other loan company can call their appraiser and know up front what it's going to come in at.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm much older than I look. I know I look young, but I'm much older than I look. I've been in the business for a while now. And the reason I'm going back on history is a little bit, back in the day, that used to be called what's called a loan officer could call me, Kelly, and the appraiser, and they say, Kelly, I need to do what's called a comp check. When you do a comp check, I got this client, Jessica. Jessica wants a house, and she thinks the house is worth $500. But can you check it out and see what it's worth? Now, that goes back, I don't know, 15, 12, I don't know how long ago. But they don't do comp checks anymore. They've kind of outlawed that. Now, the reason they've outlawed it, why can't somebody call and get an idea? Because it would be helpful. It would help the loan officer get an idea of price instead of them going in blindly, because sometimes they can only do a loan based upon if the house appraises so high because they've got their loan limits and what the person makes. So it would be helpful. Well, the problem with that is back then, same scenario. Loan officer calls me, says, hey, Kelly, house is at 500. Homeowner says it's at 500. I need it to be 515 for this loan to go through. Here's the conflict of interest. That appraiser has now got an issue. He wants to have the business. He gets paid that way, but he knows it should be out at 500. And so the loan officer saying, hey, if you just make this at 515, we know it's there. Who's to say 15,000 left or right? The appraiser back then, if they were spineless, and it did happen because it caused some issues, but they would appraise it higher at that 515 value when the true thing was it should have been about 500. They don't do that anymore. So to say that they have somebody that can go and do a comp check, that's the term it is, they don't really do that anymore. Now, on the other hand, if you know an appraiser and you're just saying, hey, Kelly, we're just calling to find out, I just need an idea. They don't have a clue. Is it 100,000 or is it a million? I'm sure there's appraisers out there that just give an idea. Now, on the guidelines on that, they'd have to double check of what the legality is, but I'm sure some loan officers do call some people just to get an idea. And if it's truthfully just to help them, it just guide them or give an idea, I'm sure that's out there also. Is that helpful at all?
That is. I think that kind of clears that up a little bit there.
Okay.
So give me an idea. So I get a contract in from my realtor partners, have a great client. We're all ready to go. I'm ordering my appraisal. So I go ahead into my system. I shoot it off. I order that appraisal. And now all I know is I'm waiting for that appraisal to come back. Tell me what happens after I order it and before I get it to come back.
I'll explain as much as I can do on my side. So what happens after you do it goes usually to an AMC. Because of that comp check that was going on 15 years ago, they've placed a third party in the middle. There is no direct line anymore for the loan officer to call the appraiser. Now there's a separation person in the middle. That separation person is the AMC. So it goes LO, turns the order over to the AMC. The AMC then calls Kelly. And they say, Kelly, we have an order over here in Highlands Ranch. We need to have it within a week and a half. It's a purchase contract. Are you able to get to it? Yes, I am. We agree on a fee. And then from there, I get the order. Now, the part of me accepting that is knowing that I have a deadline of whatever they give me. Sometimes they're a rush and it's a 2-day. Most commonly, it's a week to 8 days out, and we always meet that. Never been late. But I get the order. I call the homeowner, depending on their schedule. It's a lot easier with COVID. Most people are home now. Before that, it was hard to get it scheduled, and that could push it out. Now we schedule it within a few days. I get out there, I do the inspection. So let's say we got the order on a Monday. I set it up with the homeowner for a Tuesday or Wednesday inspection. From there, we do all that, and then it takes a couple days. We should have the report done within a week. Now, let's say we get it done by Friday. Get it turned in by Friday, and I turn it in. Now, before the LO or anybody else gets it, it goes back to the AMC. They're the middleman. They have their own reviews. They'll review it, make sure I didn't make any mistakes, any typos, didn't look over any comps to make sure we're doing our due diligence. They find something, they send it back. Kelly, hey, will you look at this other comp? Make sure there was no reason not to use it, make our changes. Now we're already back into Monday. Even though I turned it in on Friday, now we're up to Monday, and we're still bouncing it back and forth. Now, from there, say they were happy with that, Monday or Tuesday, they're going to send it over to you or your company. Now, usually you or your company, I don't know this as much, it's only from when I get them sent back, usually have their own review committee or underwriter. They look at it and they make sure that we didn't miss anything or do anything outside of the guidelines. And so that takes about another day. So we're already now into Tuesday or Wednesday. Turned it in on Friday, still Tuesday or Wednesday. Realtor hasn't seen it yet either. After we do that, then you'll see it and you'll tell it on to the realtor or the seller or whatever, but that's Wednesday or Thursday. So, you know, from the time we turn it in, there's still 4 to 6 days that it needs to be reviewed, checked out, make sure everything's good, and then sent on. And so, you know, if you get if a realtor was to contact an appraiser and they say, hey, I turned it in, I turned it on Friday, that realtor might start calling Friday afternoon or even Monday or Tuesday and still not have it. And it's not anybody's fault. He wasn't lying. It's just, they got to review it. They've got to review it. And even if there's nothing wrong with it, it still takes a couple days for those 2 different companies to review it before they see it. That
explains it, because I've obviously had that happen before.
Yeah.
Where, you know, we're like, it's in some black hole because the appraiser says he sent it in. I'm sure he has, but we don't have it.
You're exactly right. Because I get the same phone calls. I get a phone calls, you know, because I met my guideline. I turned it in by Friday. Realtor, and I apologize, I keep saying that. Realtor calls me and says, hey, you know, did you turn this in? I was like, yeah, I turned it in. And they're like, we haven't seen anything. Well, you're not. And I try and share with them, you're not. You know, and when realtors meet me at the house, I share them. I say, hey, I probably will have this done by, I'm just making up a day, but I'll probably have it done by Friday. Don't expect it until Wednesday or so. So don't start calling. It's done, but you're not going to get a number and you're not going to get a report until everything's done. So it doesn't do any good, but they're anxious. If they know that I turned it on Friday, they're expecting it on Friday. So I try and soften that blow by saying, yes, it will be turned in, but you're not going to see it until Wednesday or later.
Right.
So
yes, they sometimes feel like we're just trying to hide it from them or something.
Exactly, and that's what I try and share with them when I go out there. I
give
give them a time frame, like, hey, I'm turning it in, but you won't see it. So don't be brokenhearted and don't be having a nervous breakdown. It's coming. It has to go through certain guidelines.